Okay, this video is basically to show RAM usage. As you can see here, this is stuff running in the background. I got Fraps running. It's running 193 megabytes. That's what 193K stands for. As you can see, my performance, this is Windows. Got no antivirus running. Basically, just have Fraps running. I have my EVGA running over here. And my operating system is Windows 7 64-bit, and I'm running at 4.36 gigabytes. As you can see, I have a total of 32 gigs of RAM installed in my machine. And this is what I'm trying to explain when it comes to games and RAM. When a game asks us for RAM, it wants that much RAM. Not total in your machine, but that's what the game needs. You also need RAM, as you can see right here with my mouse, where it says 4.36 gigabytes. This is how much RAM my operating system is running right now. This is Windows 7 64-bit. Now, 32-bit operating system don't utilize over 4 gigs. Actually, it utilizes like 3.8 gigs. But when you go to 64-bit operating system, it sees over that and allows you to use additional RAM. Now I have 32 gigs, and I'm going to show you 7 Days to Die right now and how much it's actually utilizing, because people, you can't go by, people get this confused all the time when it comes to RAM and games. As you can see, 4.35 gigs is my operating system. So if you have a 4 gigs of RAM and a 64-bit operating system, you're already running at max of your RAM, pretty much. Alright, so let's just go ahead real quick and let's crank up 7 Days to Die, and we're going to watch as this process cranks. Now you can see it right here, got it highlighted, and as soon as this window pops up, we're already up to a gig, 1.3 gigs. I'm going to go to window mode so we can actually see this, because I'm in full screen mode, and I'm going to show you, in order to get, you're not going to get 7 Days to Die to run with 4 gigs of RAM anymore. With all the updates, it's going to run at least 4 point some gigs. So let me just go in here, video, and take full screen off so I can have this other screen up here while we load. Okay, here we go. So as you can see, it is running at 4 gigs. Now let's just take a look at my video settings. So if we go to my video settings, we can see I'm running 1920 by 1080 resolution, view distance up to 12, 75% on the load, shadows near, tree quality ultra, grass far. I don't like motion blur. I don't use this right here. Let's see, DOF, sun shafts, 100% on water particles, water quality is on high, reflective shadows, reflection quality high, UMA textures high, full size, anti-aliasing, VSync, I've got this almost maxed out except for load distance and shadow distance. Alright, so basically what we got here, this is default, run at 4.53 gigs. Basically 4 gigs. So let's crank up a game on this. And let's get back here. We'll make a new game, so I'm just going to do this right here real quick. Click start, and while this game is loading, let's just watch what happens to the RAM. Now this is on high settings, so if you even turn your settings up without having everything on the lowest possible setting, just watch the RAM as we load. Because I'll move the screen over here. We're initializing the world, creating a player, and as soon as we start loading chunks, as you can see, we're already up to 4.9 gigs. We'll hit 5 here in a second. And as it loads in the map, it's going to keep loading in more and more and more and more. Now you can get this under 5 gigs if you turn everything down to 0. But as we crank this up, we'll be running close to 7 gigs. It'll push around 6.9. My core clock, normally my GPU clock don't go at 7:59 until the game starts, but it's running because Fraps is running. So my core clock on my 970 is actually pumping because of Fraps. Before I started recording, I was testing this out before I started making this video, and I'm just going to ramble while this map is running. But yeah, see, my GPU clock just dropped down to 270 because the game ain't actually running right now. So we're at 5.4, 43 cells, and you're going to see 7 Days to Die up there is going to keep cranking up more and more RAM as it loads. Now, like I said, I tested this with everything completely down. That's with the lowest resolution. That's with everything down to 0 pretty much. You can get under 5 gigs. The more RAM you have, the more you need. Now this 5 gigs, as you can see here, my performance, we're already up to 10.1 gigs. That's the game's gigs of RAM bounced on top of my operating system and any other little service, any other little process I had running already. And as you can see, when you have NVIDIA, you have stuff like NVIDIA Container, NVIDIA Web Helper, NVIDIA Capture, NVIDIA Settings. You got your NVIDIA stuff. You got your Steam Client Bootstrap. It's running RAM. Your operating system. Just pretty much everything is going to be utilizing RAM. So you need enough to run not only the game but your operating system. And when they ask for 4 gigs of RAM, that means that they're saying that the game needs 4 gigs of RAM by itself. It don't say you need 4 gigs of RAM installed on your PC. It says you need at least 4 gigs of free RAM. That's what they're meaning to say. I know a lot of people don't understand that about computers, but the game needs 4 gigs of itself. It can't share this RAM. It has to have this on its own. And see, we're already at 6.1 gigs. So your 4 gigs just got shot all the shit with a machine gun. Like boom, 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 boom. We just blew your 4 gigs out of the water. I recommend anybody in today's gaming world to have at least 16 gigs. Because if you had 8 gigs, as you can see, we're over 8 gigs. I normally don't ever hit 16 gigs unless I'm doing some Java crap, because Java really sucks when it comes to actually performing well with RAM. It's a RAM hog. Java programs are, but with C# and and stuff like that, they're very good on handling your RAM and junk files and crap. But anyways, you can see we're at 10.9, so 8 gigs would be shot out trying to run this with an operating system. So I recommend 16 gigs to anybody in today's gaming world. I recommend at least a 2 gig DDR5 video card or more in today's gaming world. But we're going to go back over the process. You can see we're 6.8, and before this is done, we'll probably hit 7 gigs, and it'll drop back down. Yeah, if we just hit 7 gigs, it'll drop back down to about 6.9. It'll fluctuate a little bit between 6.5 and 6.9 while I play at these settings. Now I'm going to show you, I'm going to turn all this down here in a little bit, and we'll get these settings under 5 gigs, but you're going to play the crappiest graphics that you can. You're going to have to turn everything completely down to get it that way. The more they develop a game, the more processing can be required. The RAM requirement can go up. If they had standard at 4 gigs before, it has went up a little bit, and that's the lowest settings. Okay, that is the lowest settings. Just to be able to fart around with the lowest settings at all. But when they talk about this, like I'm trying to stress, it's 4 gigs free. It don't mean 4 gigs installed on your PC and your PC will be able to run all this. I mean, it needs 4 gigs to itself. If a game asks for 6 gigs, it wants 6 gigs to itself. As you can see, we're at 7.7 gigs. And let's just go in here for a minute. Click this off, and we'll just watch this run for a minute. We're at 7.7 gigs just standing here. Okay, let's see if we can get that down. Now we can get that down by going into our options, in our video. And first of all, we'll apply this. Oh, that's so nasty. That is so nasty. See, I should be able to expand this up, I think. Oh no. Ooh, that's just nasty right there. And we're still at 7 gigs, so let's go in here and let's turn all this down. We're going to turn that off. We're going to put this on the lowest, UMA to the lowest. Texture quality is going to be at the 8 size. We're going to turn off aliasing. We're going to turn off that, and come on, turn off. And we're going to take this all the way down as far as we can. We're going to turn shadows off. We're going to turn that low. We're going to put this on near. We'll turn sun shafts and all off. Of course, I don't mess with motion blur. We'll put the particles down to 0. Water quality low. Turn off reflections. Let's apply this. And as you can see, we're already starting to drop in RAM as we turn down all the graphics. As you can see, we're down to 5 gigs now. That is turning all that off. I can get more down, but I have to go over here. Let's see here. First, we got to exit the game. And you go back into options because you can only do this one option. You can't do it while you're in the game. We're going to turn the view distance down. Click that. You got to be kidding me. I cannot get that bigger. I had it bigger earlier. I don't know what's going on now. But as you can see, we're at 4.7 right now. So let's go back here. Let's continue the game that we had. Jump up a little bit. So you can get it under 5 gigs, but you're going to have the lowest settings. But it needs that much RAM. And you got your operating system as well that you're having to play with as well. As you can see, we're still at 9.31 gigs. That's with Windows 7 64-bit. With Fraps running, it runs a little bit of information. My EVGA runs. I got all the NVIDIA stuff off my NVIDIA card running and taking RAM. Every little process in the background. I got my audio drivers running, Steam's running, NVIDIA GeForce is running. The NVIDIA stuff's runs in the background. It's got its own stuff. And let's go back to process. We're down to 4.9 gigs of RAM. So let's run around in this low graphic game now. Now this is how you're going to have to play when you have such low RAM. And this would be why you would crash, can't load a game, have a problem playing. And I'm playing just fine with these graphics. But of course I got enough RAM to shake a stick at it. I mean, I have 32 gigs of RAM. So when a game requires you to have X amount of RAM, you need X amount of RAM. And I'm still, and see how it goes up to 5.1 gigs? And it'll jump down or jump up. Now I've got this game at the lowest settings. Just double check, make sure nothing went up. Yeah, everything's off. I mean, I don't have crap running. So if I turn this up, first let's get me some screen resolution, because God, I can't stand that. Turn my VSync back on, anti-aliasing on, full size, highest reflection quality, water quality high, particles, give me particles, sun shafts, give me far grass, give me ultra trees, give me far on shadow distance. Yes, apply all that crap. I want my game to rock. And you'll notice that our RAM's going to go back up. We're already back up to 7 gigs, 8 gigs, 7 gigs. So let's go back over here, make sure everything went up. Who's this again? Yeah, I don't want that. It's that one. Okay, yeah, I didn't want that. There we go. That's what I like. Reflection quality. You're supposed to turn on. Make sure everything got set. Water quality. Come on. Everything go up. There we go. Now, here we go. Now I'm back to the game I enjoy. All my graphics. As you can see, we got our God rays right there. You can see God rays. We got our graphics. Got our sound. We got our distance. You can see everything. But of course, like I said, 7K. And I'm going to run over this. People say, let's see, I'm at 60 frames per second. I'm going to go in the city. People say that towers lag the crap out of them, bring them to a crawl. I'm running to it now. I'm just going to test this out. I'm just going to run into the city real quick. I haven't really noticed a big impact of gameplay. I mean, there's times that my frames will drop down to 30, 27, based on what I'm looking at or how many polygons I'm looking at. But I haven't had anything really major kill it. I know they say when you get up in there, and I've been up in these things, and I haven't noticed a bunch of crap when I go into these towers. So it's basically either your video card ain't getting enough power, your video card's failing, your motherboard's failing. It's got to be a hardware issue, because my hardware right now is working real well. I'm still at 60, 49 frames, dropping down a little bit, 50 frames. I'm looking at the tower, 30, 21, 27. It's a little bit of drop, yeah, based on what I'm looking at. I'm out of stamina. But I think basically what everybody's probably looking at, it's got to be something over here, because that's where the frames dropped. Or it was just me getting it to load first, because it'll load all this information into your RAM. So once it gets loaded in, as you can see, my frames are back up. I ain't got no issue. It's just the initial coming towards the building and then it loading. Yeah, basically it's probably just everything over here loading in, but yeah, I'm 40 some frames, close to 50. Yeah, I ain't having no problems. So it's got to be your rig. Your rig just, you know, ain't getting enough power whenever the video card calls for it or whatnot. But just wanted to show you again. We look at frames. I'm at 6,600 memory, 6.6K. So you need more than 4K, at least 5K by itself. If you really want to run the game, get 2 sticks of, 16 gigs, two 8 gig chips. You can buy a cheap motherboard that'll hold 8 gigs in a slot. If you have a board that'll hold 4 chips, get 4 gig chips. You can get that for probably about $130. You can get 16 gigs of RAM for about that price. But yeah, I just wanted to debunk where people say, I want people to understand that when the game developer wants you to have X amount of RAM, that's how much RAM you need to run the game at the lowest settings. And that means that's how much RAM you need free. Because right now my machine is running 11 gigs of RAM, and 7 days to die is taking 6.6K. Alright, have a good one.